start to the Lotus 79 season has seen the competitors collecting a lot of virtual air miles. We've crossed the Atlantic and have landed back in the States for another round of racing. Road America is on the docket today. Can anyone trim out their wings enough to catch the dominance of Tolinen and Partinen? Let's grab some of the best track food in the country and watch round 4 of the Lotus 79 Sunday Grand Prix Series. You'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing Channel. Hi, I'm Joey Atterbury, and joining me in the booth is the one and only Jake Sperry. Behind the scenes is our director, Ryan Bauer, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Peard. While we munch down some of these track broths, let's learn more about America's National Park of Speed.
Welcome to Road America. Nicknamed America's National Park of Speed, it's easy to see why just by looking at how the track is laid out. Long straights are a major feature, and drivers will build up incredible momentum before they find themselves interrupted by tight 90-degree corners. In fact, for a 4-mile circuit, it has shockingly few turns. It also has little in the way of variation in layouts. The main course is only broken up once with a single chicane added in the bend version. But don't take this to mean that it's a boring track. Elevation change happens many times over a lap, with a few places taking you into corners which are quite blind. But 2 of the turns on the back half of the course are perhaps the most distinctive. One is the carousel with its more than 180-degree radius. It just feels like it never stops. The other is the kink. Terrifyingly fast with very little runoff, it can end someone's race in a flash. As you'd expect, the heavy braking zones make for some ideal overtaking spots. Turn 5 sees plenty with its downhill entry. The hurried downs can offer drivers a chance at a sneak attack if you're brave, and then Canada Corner gives you one last shot before the lap is over. It's no wonder major organizations such as IMSA, IndyCar, NASCAR, and the SCCA all host major races here. All in all, many drivers rate this track as the best track in North America. Many who hop in the seat and try it can quickly understand why.
This place holds a special place in my heart, one of my favorite places in the entire world, Jake. Road America, it is a classic American venue.
It is a classic American venue, and I can honestly say that every sim racer probably loves this place because it's the one track that is easy and has a lot of overtaking opportunities. Not easy in the sense that it's an easy circuit to drive. It's not by any stretch of the imagination. You've got sections out there like the run up through the Corvette Bridge all the way through the carousel. That's a really technical section of circuit. But what you tend to find is that it's got a lot of overtaking opportunities. And that's what for sim racers make it easy. And a lot of drivers love GT3 at Road America. That's something that often gets a lot in the strength of fields. Today with the Lotus 79s, it's going to be a real challenge. I think we're going to see maybe not as much overtaking, but this is very much going to be a stay in the rhythm. Canada Corner, I think, will be the most crucial corner on this race today, Joey.
It's all the way uphill from Canada Corner all the way to start finish. And take a look at the points standings so far. We've done 3 rounds in this Sunday Grand Prix driver standings. Jukka Tolinen currently leading over Pauli Partinen. Jukka's got 2 wins to Pauli's 1 win at Monza just a week ago. Topi Korteniemi has been the closest competitor, giving chase to those 2. Jason Clapper, impressive to be in 4th position considering he never even qualifies for these races. Then you have Juho Raina also inside of the top 5. Also quite a few battles, but it is only round 3. We also have the F2 Drivers' Championship, Jake.
We absolutely do, and that's currently being spearheaded by one of GSRC's own, Samuel Reimann, who's on the top with 95 points. It is close behind with Andrew Thomas in 2nd, just 2 points away, and Shady Ahmad in 3rd position. It's a really close championship up at the top. Pablo Suarez finds himself in 4th with Jan Poludniewski in 5th position. Miguel Morland and Cam Porter are 6th and 7th. Daniel Banker finds himself in 8th with Peter Konechny 9th, and Bjorn Ackermann rounds out the top 10, just the 40 points behind.
I mentioned it. We are at round 4 of 12 today. 21 laps is what we're going to be doing around Road America. As always, here in this Lotus 79, it is an open setup, so the drivers get to be able to tune the car, the setup how they feel best to suit their style. There's no spare car, so that means if you pick up any damage, you're going to have to live with it or come down pit road, basically at a time penalty to get that fixed. And a drive-through penalty at 17x, disqualification at 25x, the standard Lotus 79 Sunday Grand Prix season rules out here. And at Road America, with how wide these cars are, Jake, I'm not too worried about the X amount out there. They're just so wide for a relatively narrow racetrack. You got to be careful of your competitors.
You really do, and especially here with the open wheels, these pieces of machinery are so easy to break and buckle if you make contact the wrong way. So it's always going to be about focus around where everyone is around you and knowing the dimensions of the car. We're on board with Sam Ryman here, heading through the kink, one of the most high-speed committed corners out there on the track, which completely sets up the run here towards Canada corner, the corner that is the closest aimed over to the Canadian border. On the brakes, then through this right-hander. It's only 80 degrees, but it feels like it's much more. Yuka sets the first benchmark time of a 151.447, but everyone else is trying to find improvement.
Not surprised to see Tolanen top the sheets, especially on the first lap as Sam Ryman rounds out of that final turn number 14, goes up the hill all the way to start finish. I mentioned from Canada corner all the way to start finish, it is uphill. One of the tallest parts of the racetrack right here is relatively everything else is downhill. A lot of elevation here as Pauli Partanen comes around turn 14. Curious to see what he puts down as his first flying lap. I mentioned Tolanen has won twice here this season. Pauli Partanen is coming off of a win just last week at Monza.
Yeah, and Pauli Partanen is someone who has been a champion before and goes past it, 51.266 on that opening time. But the second lap can be just as important with the fuel burn-off that comes along with these drivers. It's all about finding the right limits around this sort of circuit, and it's currently a Finland 1, 2, 3, and 4 at the moment with Kimmo Villiakainen in that fourth position. So all of the Finns are out in force, and they just so happen as well, Joey, to be the top 4 in iRacing 2. The Finns absolutely love this car.
Trust me, if you haven't been watching this season of Lotus 79, the Finns they've been dominating really the entire top spots, dominating the podium, dominating the interview. So I'm really not surprised to see the Finns, as we watch Kimmo Villiakainen here, out there still on top of the timesheets. Let's see what Kimmo Villiakainen can do. He's currently 4th on the board. Go up the hill here to complete his second lap. See if he's able to improve it all. As Yuka Tolanen, 151.1.
That's incredible lap time there at the front from him. But remember, Pauli Partanen still got a second lap. Kimmo Villiakainen's lap time was good enough to move to within 0.4 of a second then over the line as Dylan Freckleton we focus with now moving through Canada corner. Now the final 2 corners are transfer as we go with Pauli Partanen, has a kick of oversteer through Canada corner. That might have cost him a bit of time. Bill Mitchell bend here, this fast left-hander up over the crest. You use as much circuit as you can. It's so crucial to get the maximised amount of track width out of the final section, kicks the tail once more. You can't blame Pauli Partanen here for pushing, and can he find a 10.5 on his teammate Yuka Tolanen as he runs to the line? Answer is he can find time, but he can't find enough of it.
51.14, and for reference, folks, that's 39 milliseconds, only 3/100ths of a second off of the pole position, and really our entire top 5 is within 1/2 as we watch Peter Konechny here roll down through the carousel. This is one of the most iconic corners on the Road America track, and from the carousel it feeds into the kink. Jake, you were talking about this corner earlier, one of the fastest corners in North America.
and one of the only corners that you could probably say in the world, never go too wide through there. It's a recipe for disaster, and it is so enticing when you get a good run coming out of the carousel to make that happen immediately at the kink. No, temper your run, wait for Canada corner. It's a much more available opportunity. Konechny here in 6th position has 3/10 to find to pass Juho Reiner to go up forward, but it looks like Nathan Finnegan's just jumped the ship and has gone on forward. He was just 6,000 short, so Konechny now has been shuffled back to the 4th row of the grid. This is the last driver to come to the line and does improve on a 52 flat. That will be good enough to move up to 5th.
Yeah, great job from that number 13 car. Put it inside the top 5, and that will be our starting grid. Jukka Tolvanen in the number 3 car is your pole sitter. Joining him on the front row is Pauli Partanen in his number 2 car. Topi Korteniemi is going to start 3rd with Kimmo Viilikainen in 4th. Peter Konechny there in 5th will share row number 3 with Juho Reiner in 6th. Nathan Finnegan is going to be lined up 7th. Dylan Freckleton in 8th, Javier Mosquera in 9th, and Pablo Suarez is going to round out your top 10.
Over to row 6 of the grid, where Samuel Ryman sits as the leader of the F2 Championship. Miguel Morland will be with him for company. Keith Herner and Barry West will be on row 7 of the grid with Stay Morris and Patrick Samaran on row 8. The last 3 drivers are split by their iRacing because they haven't set a representative qualifying time, which means that James Barry will start 17th on row 9 with Jason Clapper, who loves the last to first challenge as much as he possibly can, and Ellis Spice will have that 19th position on the grid. We'll have it all to do, and there'll be some fortunates here, Joey, that the field split today, because this could have been a massive 1-car split, as there's the track conditions out there. I would say perfect, except for one thing, the wind condition.
And these cars are affected by the wind. Now, they are ground effect cars, so they don't get blown around as much as some of the modern cars, but still 10 miles an hour and gusting. You got to be careful of which direction it's going into, especially with some of the top speeds that we see out on the racetrack here. And before we get going, I want to point out turn number 5. It is usually a pretty dangerous area here, especially on the first lap. We saw in qualifying the tire warm-up, it comes into effect. It's usually lap number 2 before these cars and tires are fully up to temp and they can attack. Well, between all the cars grouped together, the heavy slipstream that they are going to get out of turn 3 all the way down into turn number 5, it usually produces some aggressive moves, some overtaking opportunities that the drivers and cars might not be ready for as we get the lights turned on, the revs come up. And we've got a green flag here at Road America. Jukka Tolvanen and Pauli Partanen get away evenly, but it's Kimmo Viilikainen with a great jump from the second row. He's tucked in line, but he's boxed in from Topi Korteniemi as they're pretty even going through turn number 1, single file for the front 5. Really even and well-mannered, Jake.
Yeah, there's one, though, that has gone off in the background and has found the barriers all on their own. That's Keith Herner, who's found the wall then on the exit of 1. Just cold tyres, looping it over to the inside, not ideal. The run now to the Moraine Sweep becomes crucial because it's about positioning and where you go. Pauli Partanen's not going to sit by and wait. He's going to move for the race lead here, up over the crest. He's got the inside and he's got the place.
And he's already tucked back on the racing line. That looked pretty well coordinated, but he doesn't get off at turn number 5 that well. We see a few cars streaming off into the runoff area there in turn 5. I mentioned it can be dangerous on the brakes, especially with the extra speed you're carrying here in the first lap. But it's still Partanen, Tolvanen, Korteniemi, Viilikainen, and Peter Konechny, your top 5.
Yeah, they're doing a great job, and they head now through towards the carousel, one of the most crucial sections of circuit out there. There has just been a car off there at that section. In fact, there's a spin with James Barry, like Sustain Morris has gone around as well, so they're all in trouble near the rear of the field, and they're not too happy about it as they stream under the Henry Bridge and through towards the kink. Look at the commitment that's needed there. Viilikainen on the back of Korteniemi, trying to find that overtake, but having to play the better part of Valor. There's 21 laps, so you'll have a further 20 opportunities there, Kimo. You want to move up onto the podium.
And we come up out of Canada corner around turn number 13. Very tricky with these cold tires still on lap number 1. round out of the final turn number 14, complete the first lap here at Road America. Looked like Peter in the number 13 car was really wagging the tail coming out of that final turn. You're all the way up on the curbs right there, and also got Juho Rinne trying to make the pass here for the top 5 side by side with Peter Konechny. Got that poor run out of turn 14. They're going to battle it deep side by side into one, but Juho Rinne up into 5th.
Yeah, that's a lovely move there by Juho Rinne. And this Lotus 79 holds a lot of comparisons to the modern-day Formula 1 car. Do they have ground effects? Yes, they do, as Dylan Freckleton races with the Isle of Man on the helmet there, and a big hello to us here all watching. What do they also have, these Lotus 79 cars? Well, they have the bigger rear tyres compared to the front tyres. What does that mean? Well, it means that it's very easy to lose out, as Freckleton does have a big look at the inside. Finnegan, not much he can do about that, but it's going to mean that these drivers are going to struggle on the exit of corners. They're going to have to be patient to put the power down.
Well, I think that Dylan Freckleton was being a little bit aggressive back there because he's back in the 8th place. We're usually used to seeing Dylan fighting for the podium, so I think just maybe not the best qualifying effort for him, trying to make up some of that track position as we're riding along with the 4th place car. The classic white and purple scheme. Timo Vilkainen still chasing down Torpi Korteniemi out here, and something I'm noticing about this battle, Joe, not very much pressure being applied to the 3rd place car of Topia. I think that they're both trying to stay in line, just trying to hang on to the back of the 2 Finns out front.
Yeah, they're certainly looking to try and make that happen, but you're thinking about 5th place on back, that gap already being 2 seconds. They can kiss goodbye to top 4 in this one unless there are mistakes at the front. And for those who are here for the first time, this is the sort of series where those Finnish drivers at the front make seldom mistakes. They are inch perfect. It's like 4 Finnish robots at the front of the field. When you find a mistake, you go, hang on a minute, we're going to have to check the code again, because there's never normally this sort of glitch in the matrix. Pally Parsonen, fastest lap.
Well, I think that's part of the mask there, Jake, is that they have to have the crack in the code every once in a while. Otherwise, it is truly proven that they are robotic AI. But to your point here, Partanen and Tolvanen, this is classic out of them. They're just going to sit in line. They might even leapfrog in the draft a little bit, but all they are going to do is sit there and turn consistent, incredibly fast laps, pull away from probably 3rd, 4th in the rest of the field. And then when it gets down to probably about 4 laps to go, then they finally settle it out.
Yeah, they build the gap, build a margin so that if anything does go wrong, they've still got an ability to go out there and race effectively. When it goes through, the gloves are off. Now, this is Global SimRacing Channel replay. This is what happened then to Keith Herner. So he's already had one incident out there on the opening corner. Here, he gets absolutely collected turning into Canada corner, and that can easily happen when you're fighting for a one-line shoot-all corner like what Canada is.
Well, and he was also on the outside. It certainly seemed like he was clear in the brake zone, but Canada Corner is all about managing your speed, and any time that you're around the outside, you're trusting that competitor to stop the car on the inside of you. Unfortunately, that just didn't happen, and it ended up collecting Keith Herner, but unfortunate for him, the race still goes on. Partanen still leads Tolvanen out there. They have flip-flopped from their qualifying positions. Going to get another GSRC replay here of this initial start. Watch what happened to Keith Herner here in turn 1, Jake.
Yeah, stuck on the inside, grabs too much curb, and then the back steps out. And I tell you what, he's so lucky that that car is still in a drivable condition to go out forward in this race. I never knew that that machinery was so sturdy, but it proved it today. That was really sturdy, really good. Here's some side-by-side as Parsonen sets another fastest lap. Peter Konechny now looks at Nathan Finnegan pushing for the inside. Freckleton with the best seat in the house for it, but it's Konechny around the outside who holds.
Now, I want to talk a little bit about the downforce setups because we're seeing this battle between Finnegan and Konechny here. We saw Nathan get up alongside of him, but once he got there, he couldn't pass. That's usually a difference in the downforce levels. When you run a lower wing level, you have a higher top speed. When you run a higher wing level, you have a lower top speed, but you can be aggressive in the corners and on the brakes. But you'll find out rather quickly, making a pass on the straight line, it's not going to happen.
No, and that's always going to be the issue that you're going to run into. The fact that you will struggle to break through and make that pass. It's very easy to sit behind a different driver and use the slipstream and gain that advantage. But what happens when you pull out of that? You get hit with a massive wall of air where you are effectively punching in underneath the air for all of what you're driving. You go to make the overtake, the air comes and buffets you, adds extra resistance to the car, and because of that, you lose that ability, that advantage to go and make that move, and that's what Nathan Finnegan is up against here right now. He's got to try and beat the air, essentially, if he wants to make the pass on Peter Konechny.
And I'll even take it one step further with my nerdiness here at Road America, is that traditionally this circuit, it suits a medium downforce level in qualifying. It means your fastest laps actually have a little bit of wing in it. Now when it comes to the race time, totally different. You want to take that wing out because you need to be able to race the cars. You need to be able to overtake cars on the track. And if you have that wing in it, you're just simply not going to be able to do that. But some of these drivers, they just get into the rhythm of these practice laps and say, hey, you know what? This feels the best. But you actually have to think forward. What's going to happen in the race? What's going to give me the fastest race car to go out and win the race? That is how you collect the checkered flags at Road America.
It is, and there is the Angry Bird helmet of Jukka Tolonen then in second position. He's really going to have to try and work hard to stay with Pauli Partanen, who is ever so slowly keeping that gap stationary at around 0.7 of a second. Tolonen was able to match and slightly improve by a few hundredths and thousandths of a second over that last lap, but there is the defensive line by Peter Konechny, and I think Nathan Finnegan's going to be tired of trying to read Talbot on the back wing there, trying to work out where an overtake is to be found. I think he wants a new book, he wants some new reading material.
And if he can make a move down into turn number 8 after turn 7 here, he gets washed out in the dirty air. I'm talking about Nathan Finnegan, the second car in line. It's not going to be close enough to make a move, but if he has a car that can't make that top speed, it's important where you make the pass, because if you pass him in turn 1, he's just going to pass you right back going into turn number 5. Got to be careful on where you get that job done. As we check in with Jason Clapper, he's only up 4 positions. Now, I noticed that he did an incredible job avoiding a huge wreck on the opening lap in turn number 8. That's why he hasn't made the ground that he usually has, but now he's literally back on track.
He is, and he's now really trying to find the pass, and this is Ellis Spice that he's trying to find a move on, and if he can pass Spice, then that is nice, and he gets it done at Canada Corner and makes sure that he seasons another position up forward. That puts him now into 13th place with that overtake at least.
Oh, the Spice is nice. Kind of like the Battle of the Garys we had the other day, and looking at Jason Clapper's lap times, a 53.8. If you go up the timing and scoring sheet, that puts him right about inside of the top 7 or so. Nathan Finnegan now all over the back of Peter Konechny, making a move down into turn number 3. I have a feeling that Peter's going to be able to pass him back here on the straightaway. Nathan Finnegan, this move is going to be all for naught as they drag race down the moraine sweep into turn number 5. I'm actually pretty impressed to see Finnegan kind of edging ahead. Let's see who can come out on the edge of this braking duel as they go side by side into turn number 5. Give the position back to Peter. Nathan's hanging tough. Here comes Dylan Freckleton trying to poke his nose in.
Oh, Freckleton has a big issue behind, but that is some brilliant driving there by one Mr. Peter Konechny. His tail has been happier than a cat ready to pounce, and he's realised how much trouble he's been in, but here comes the move from Freckleton. Oh, that's brilliant around the outside, but can he hold it? No, he can't. They both make contact. Both of them in trouble.
Oh, just so unfortunate. I hope that neither of these cars has any steering damage. That was some front-end to front-end contact, and I think Freckleton's eyes just got a little bit big for what the opportunity was, and it certainly seems like Nathan Finnegan is having problems. Javier Mascara as well as Pablo Suarez have already passed him, riding on board with him now. Let's see if we can see. Yep. Yeah, look at how heavy that steering wheel's turned. He's got steering damage.
Yeah, you're going to have a secondary look at it to see just what makes it so difficult out there. And this is the GSRC replay that proves it. So the opportunity's there by Freckleton. He goes to the outside, he outbrakes himself slightly into the corner, locks up the backs, and just like that, round you go. Pablo Suarez does about just enough to avoid it, and that is a Pablo Suarez, lest we forget at this moment in time, who is going to be in a position to try and make some gains in the F2 Championship.
Yeah, having a fantastic day, Pablo Suarez, up a couple spots, but you're right, in terms of the points gained, he's looking very good for that F2 Championship. Right on board now with him back here chasing down Javier Mascara. Javier's just a half second up the road here in that prime opportunity. Now here in iRacing, that slipstream lasts about 1 second, 1.2 seconds. So sitting right here half a second, he's getting pulled along quite nicely. However, Jake, he still has to deal with the dirty air when it comes to the corners.
Absolutely, and it's a double-edged sword when you got the slipstream. It's fantastic for you on a straight, but it's really difficult for a corner, because when you go through a corner, you're changing the angle of what you go through. You get turbulences that come off the side of the wings. Now, it's a little bit more primitive in these Lotus 79s than they are in other vehicles, but you still get it because it's a winged Formula car. And essentially, what happens is you can't put the power down behind as quickly as the car in front of you can put the power down, because you're still waiting for the aerodynamic grip to effectively settle the car. This is the perfect example here, this train of 6. The long carousel, you get understeer through these corners, and you have to wait for the car to turn and settle, and you drop a little bit of the top end speed. So that gives these drivers a few troubles out there. This is 9th place on back. Jason Clapper has gone straight through the group in the blink of an eye.
It's tremendous what he can do. I'm looking at the lap times, and I'm still seeing him track up inside of the top 5, and we're only a third of the way through this race, so I have a feeling that his climb is far from over. This is James Berry in the white and red number 9, trying to hunt down Ellis Spice right in front of him. He's actually got company with good old Sam Ryman. We know Sam quite well. He's hounding the mirrors right underneath the rear wing here of James Berry.
Yeah, and Sam Ryman needs places because he will lose some points to some of his main rivals around him. Miguel Morlan is one of them. Pablo Suarez is another. And you also have to consider as well in this group that there are drivers who aren't going to be scoring as many points, but are down in the second split here, Joey, who if they had a great race and won that race, are going to still score some great points. So just because you're only racing a couple of drivers here in F2 in this split doesn't mean you're not racing the drivers who aren't in this split, and because of that, you still need to gain as many places as you can.
Correct. The best way I can describe it is we are broadcasting here. Ooh, and a big move from James Berry. Can he get the car stopped? No. Over, under. Just got in way too deep there in turn number 5. Actually, tip of the cap to Sam Ryman. He was very respectful not to go too wide up the hill into turn number 6. I think he certainly could have. But back to my point is that, yes, there are 2 splits here because we have so many drivers wanting to race in this race. There is a maximum starting limit on these series, and so this is the strength of field, the highest I rating, and oh no, now we got problems. That is Barry West off in the carousel. You never want to be off in the gravel. You want to be on the sticky stuff, Barry.
Yeah, that was Dylan Freckleton, side-by-side, wheel-to-wheel contact there as Dylan was falling backwards through the field. So there is the look. He gets himself through. But running through this section, Freckleton is not going to be over and done with. He's going to try and find the pass and get that forward, and that very much could have spelt disaster over the course of that. We'll have to stay with Ellis Spice because we just had an incident of 2 wide at the King, which definitely doesn't work. But here it is, side-by-side, under the Speedville Bridge, and it's just a case of Freckleton taking a wider line and effectively demotes one Mr. Barry West down the order. Now, this is where Ellis Spice comes into play. What's the golden rule here, Joey? Don't go too wide at the King.
No, and this is a late move, and Ellis Spice actually lifts. He doesn't get into the wall. Thankfully, that DRS sign is pretty much imaginary here in the sim, but I think he's going to need a change of shorts after that one. Going off at the kink, even in the virtual world, is a bit of a moment. It's going to have to go back to this battle. That was James Berry. I think that was the car that inserted himself too wide into the kink, and he's lucky he really got away with that one. there's not very many times that you come out of the kink, especially with those guardrails, those concrete walls. It is a dangerous place down there.
It really is, and I think it goes to show that you've got more drivers who find trouble in the kink than find themselves out of it. Now, here is Pablo Suarez and his soiree looking at what is in front of him. So on the brakes, into the left. Oh, that's a huge kick of turning. Just the grip not there, having to correct, effectively having a tank slapper through that section of road, and that is Javier Mosquera losing the position in the Persona 5 car, I do believe that is. So he is looking for a lot of opportunities out there to gain those places back.
And it could have been a couple things there. When I think of Road America, of course, I think of motor, top speed, low wing angle when it comes to the races, but you also have to be very, very confident on the brakes. That goes brake bias adjustments, also the downshifts in these cars. Remember, they're using a 5-speed transmission, and a lot of them are still using that third pedal, that clutch pedal. So if you don't time those revs right, get those downshifts right, you can very easily lock a rear end, and that can provide that snap of oversteer on that corner entry. Checking back in with our leaders, pretty equidistant gap between our top three. Partanen, Tolanen, Korteniemi still your finish top three. Include Kimmo Vilakainen in that finish top 4 as well. And just impressive stuff. This is what I'm expecting to see. When they spread out like this, Jake, they're kind of playing a chess game of who can collect the fast lap.
Absolutely. I will correct myself. It was the Persona 3 car, not the Persona 5 car. And there is Javier Mosquera, who's got the idle on the front, very much like a certain cyclist used to have over in the North Seas, an Italian who absolutely was flying and won the World Championship even at one stage as well. But now looking to charge forward through the middle sector. This is where you really have to be alert here. The hurry downs, which is this next section, which feels like a roller coaster because you have this up, then you have this downhill braking zone, and it's very much like you are being sent through a loop because you have that small little shift forward. It's very difficult. It's right on the braking line.
And then it continues downhill all the way through the carousel. You get a little bit of a compression down here at the corner exit. See, it kind of flattens out, feeds you into this super fast kink. Javier Mosquera chasing down Pablo Suarez. But I think the fastest car is going to be the caboose on this train. Remember, we were talking about Jason Clapper. He's always in that last to first challenge. Well, he's continuing to click off laps about 3/4 of a second faster than this pairing, this battle that we've been watching. So watch for that white and red number 10 car to creep up on this battle very quickly.
Mario Cipollini is who I was thinking of, the Italian sprinter who won the World Championship once upon a time in 2002. But at this moment, Jason Clapper is absolutely doing what he does in every race, in every classic format. He goes from the back of the field and he likes to charge forward and he likes to gain places. And he honestly has the sort of pace where if he actually goes and qualifies, he can have a really strong season, but he feels like he's able to get what he wants by driving at the back, and it's his way of having fun. So all power to him. If he stays by a formula of starting at the back, then he will start at the back and charge on forward. But Mosquera, who is really searching for that move now, is going to have the opportunity. Pablo Suarez will go defensive here, but on the brakes, it is going to be as you were between them.
And actually, Pablo Suarez has to be a little bit careful about those defensive maneuvers. The maneuver itself was just fine in terms of timing. However, he almost got into the grass on the left side there, so you just got to be careful not to be too aggressive on the steering wheel in those defensive actions. Keep control of your own car first, but these three are pretty well-mannered, and here comes Jason Clapper. I was wondering when he was going to bring himself in, and now he is firmly underneath the wing of Javier Mosquera. He said, you know what, Javier, you couldn't get the pass done on Pablo quick enough. I'm going to go up here, start to pressure you either into a mistake or get around you myself.
Yeah, so every single time you can find yourself an overtake, it will be great, but you have to try and force a mistake out of the drivers in front, because no driver's going to willingly give you the position as Tolanen sets the fastest lap of the race, trying to desperately keep Pauli Partanen in check. but every single time you're looking for that overtake, you're weighing up the risk versus the reward. How much do I want to deviate from my own line to make that pass happen? And this is where you're just going to have a little bit of faith out there and make sure that you've got your line pretty much set up the way that you're supposed to.
Well, and if you put yourself in Jason Clapper's shoes, right, you look ahead, there's a huge gap in front of these two cars. So there's no point in going up there, getting your elbows out, making enemies in this battle, because I have a feeling that if you are patient, the pace is going to come to you. The passes are going to come to you. It's just a matter of time. And actually, check out the run. Mascara gets all over the back of Suarez. We're heading down into turn number 5. Suarez is on the left side of the racetrack. How deep on the brakes can he go? Mascara on the outside, pretty even, but it once again is Suarez holding the defensive line. But hey, check this out. Doesn't get the power down. It's actually going to be Mascara around the outside of turn 6 to get the pass done.
Oh, baby, 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 what a move. That's a great bit of overtaking there by Javier Mascara, and he made sure of it. And now, is it going to be twice in the space of the same lap around the outside? Pablo Suarez would have seen a ghost if that would have happened. There would have been the ghosts of Christmas past and present that would have found those overtakes, and his future would have been in doubt. But brilliant stuff there. Jason Clapper, though, erring with patience. And I think that's the key, because he realizes it's 12 seconds to the group in front. He can't really make any more passes.
No, and if these two get into it, he needs to give himself maybe at least a little bit of room, as you see Suarez try to poke the nose down into Canada corner. He had the draft, had the run, the slipstream. He still feels like he's got a fast enough car to take the fight back to Mascara for the 7th place position. Jason Clapper tries to square up the run out of turn number 14. Actually misses the apex quite a bit, but all three of them get a decent run out of turn 14. I don't think any passing opportunities are going to happen down into turn 1 this lap.
No, I don't think so either. Let's have another look here. This is Ellis Spice, who has found out what losing the back end does at the carousel. You're so reliant on the grip that goes through. And one of the funny things when you got open wheel machinery like this, Joey, is the only way you're going to get more grip, as Patrick Samaran, I think, is also going to run into a couple of troubles as he falls down and I believe pulls over for the leaders. I think one of the issues that you're going to find with these drivers, especially lower down, the only way you're going to get more grip for a corner like the carousel is to just drive faster. And it sounds so counterintuitive, but just drive faster, you'll get more grip.
It's interesting how it works, and yes, it's physics. Basically, it's a wing, it's ground effects, and the faster you flow the air over, the more downforce it produces. It pushes the car down or sucks the car down to the racetrack. But however, when you overstep that limit, Jake, the grip goes away, and when it does, it goes away incredibly fast. It's almost no time to try to save the car whatsoever.
Exactly, and you have to be with lightning fast reactions, especially when you're in the sim. You don't necessarily have the feel of touch to really work with you. You're relying on your eyes and your ears to know when that moment is, and you are listening out for the key moment where you hear slightly more slide and scrub on the tyres, and you have to be so attuned to those senses, because this is sim racing. We talk about it, it's a brilliant 99% replication, Joey, of what you have in the modern world. It's not 100% because you do have a couple of senses. You have to drive slightly differently on a sim to what you have to do in real life, but it's as close as it can possibly get.
I think you hit it perfectly, Jake. I get so frustrated in the sim because I built my career around feel of the race car, setting up a race car. That's what I was best at. And then, yeah, you get in the sim, and as you said, it's all audio. You got to listen to the tires, listen to the yaw angle, listen to what the curves are giving you, and then react. So it's very difficult for someone like me to hop in the sim and then get out there and compete at these top levels that these Finns do, that these incredibly fast drivers do. It's just amazing what they're able to do here in iRacing. And this is still that battle for 7th place, Mascara, Suarez, Jason Clapper. But Clapper, I think, is squaring up Pablo Suarez. Looking down to the inside here of turn number 5. Suarez, once again, with a little bit of a defensive move, covers it off. Let's see what kind of drive they can get. And once again, just a poor exit off of that turn number 5. Jake, I've been seeing the wider you are around turn number 5, there's more and more marbles out there. It's tough to put the power down.
It is, and these drivers are really pushing, and the moment you step out of line, effectively the marbles are discarded rubber that comes off of the tyres. Every time that you rush through that, it's like being on ice, because effectively you create these balls of marble that fly off the car, and it is basically driving on marbles. So you effectively are not driving on the racing surface, you're driving on the discarded polythenes that are there, and it's very, very difficult when you're out there to get traction down. Now Jason Clapper finally has the look and has the move, and will he invoke his overtake on the inside to get that sorted? Much later on the brakes, and gets it squared up. Sometimes it's just not fair the way he drives.
Just a neat and tidy pass from Jason Clapper. I mean, was squared up on the entry, kept it under control, hugged down to the apex, and then firmly put the power down coming out of Canada corner. Just absolutely textbook from the driver of the number 10, and now he's already driving away from Pablo Suarez. He has got the target sight on Javier Mosquera. What would you call that color car, Jake? A little bit of a salmon color car for Mosquera?
It's in and around that.
Rouge? Yeah. Rouge, maybe?
Oh, it's pretty much there. I would say it's a very nice colour out there, and it's really doing a lot there for him as he goes forward. But he's now really got to be worried here about Jason Clapper. It doesn't matter how much help that he will have looking down, seeing Yukari Takaba down on the front of the screen. It won't matter at all. He's just got to drive. He's got to drive quickly. Speaking of drive quickly, Yuka Tolonen, for the first time, is flicked inside of the second.
I noticed that too. It's coming down to about 1/3 of the race left, about 6.5 laps left remaining. So it's time for Yuka Tolonen to kind of reel in that fishing reel, if you will, and bring Partanen back to him. Bring that fight back to the winning fight for the last, I don't know. They usually go at it for about 2 laps at the end, Jake. So I expect Yuka, he is closing it in, but I don't expect to see a move out of him quite yet.
No, I'm not expecting moves. What I am expecting, though, is that gap to claw back to about half a second. That will be the ideal here for Yuka Tolonen, who, on that last lap, brought back 0.4 of a second, a 51.8 to a 52.2, and Topi Kortaniemi behind, even quicker than that, 51.6. Now, drivers will sit at around a second and a half, as there's another look with Mosquera to try and stay outside of that dirty air. It saves the tyres. You scrub the tyres more the longer that you sat behind someone, because you're dealing with that understeer. So, I think Yuka Tolenen's been very clever in this race, hasn't used the tyres, and now is going to use them with 6 laps to go.
And not only that, but these two drivers, they practice together all the time. I mean, they are pretty much attached at the hip when they are out there on the racetrack. And I'm pretty sure that last lap time of Pauli Partanen, a 52.2, wasn't any mistakes out there on the racetrack. I'm pretty sure he's just cooling his stuff off, knowing that Yuka Tolonen is going to start to reel him in. I think he's just playing a very, very patient game, being a very smart racing driver, like we know they are. And I want to apologize to Juho Raina, because I called it a finished top 4 earlier in the race, but it's been a finished top 5 literally the whole time.
Well, to finish first you have to be finished, it seems, in this series, because the top 5 have been worlds apart from everybody else in this one, with maybe the exception of Konechny, who's trying to bring that back in. Gap, though, at half a second on the brakes into Canada corner, and it's patience that's going to be needed now from Tolonen. He can't have all the cake right now. He's got to split it up into segments, take a little bit here, take a little bit there, and that will be his aim. Just maximise the straights and the slipstream and get back into range. Saying that, Parton's had a really good last sector.
About 3/4 of a second separates them as they came out of the final turn here. And actually, Jason Clapper is all over the back of Mosquera. He's going to go side by side down into Canada corner right here, is trying to get this pass done finally. They've gone side by side into Canada corner a couple times, and oh, you see Clapper really run it all the way out to the gravel. But Jake, I think this driver finally has got the pass done.
That is a good move again by Jason Clapper, who's done exactly what he's wanted to. And I guess that Pablo Suarez will look in front and see Javier Mosquera, who sees himself that that was not what he was envisioning, a game over. But you've still got Jukka Tolonen, who's still sitting there, who's still looking to induce mistake, but is finding again that every single apex is being hit by Pauli Partanen. And on that last go by, they both set fastest laps of the race, 51.5 from Pauli Partanen. Jukka Tolonen put a 51.3 down. They have pretty much gone, right, we've been racing at 8 or 9, now let's turn up the wick. We're racing at notch 10 and 11.
Yeah, you gotta turn it up to 11, and trust me, these two, they can turn it up to 11. Topi Korteniemi, Kimmo Vilakainen, Juha Raina, I appreciate you, but you're at 10 right now. Go ahead.
Pablo Suarez has spun. Actually, he's backed his right rear tyre into the barriers as well, so he might have suspension damage on top of it.
And remember, Pablo Suarez was the one that was hanging on to the back of this battle with Mascara as well as Clapper. So I wonder if maybe he was just pushing at 11 tenths like we see the drivers up here. And that was coming out at turn 5. We talk about the ground effects and how much downforce they make. Well, at turn 5, that is the slowest area of the racetrack. They don't have any downforce helping them there.
He's just spun it a second time as well, so his tyres are completely hyperheated. There, his good years just gave up on him.
Yeah, and as you called it, yeah, I got that damage as he was trying to spin it around. And kind of a shame for Pablo Suarez. He was having a fantastic race going. Definitely not the way he ended up, or pictured ended up the race here. As 4 laps to go. Pauli Partanen, Jukka Tolonen, nothing has changed except the gap continues to close. I mentioned it was 3/4 of a second coming out of turn 14 just a couple laps ago. Now we're down to under 1/4 of a second.
It's pretty much as close as you can get without moves being thrown. And Tolonen, who has been ever the most zen driver in this field, waiting for an opportunity to make that pass, he'll be just thinking about, okay, I know this driver in front of me so well. I practice with him all the time. I know where he's good, I know where he's bad, and he's bad pretty much nowhere in terms of the way he races. There is the look at Pauli Partanen, who has been absolutely fantastic in terms of the way that he's been going about it. And they call it a Jukka Pauli special because these two are 1 and 2, and they are both incredibly special drivers in terms of this Lotus 79 series.
A classic JPS livery, but with the Finnish touch on it. You're right. And it is a classic look that they've got. And they're actually coming up on a little bit of lap traffic here. See if it's going to throw a wrench into their battle at all. I don't think so. I think it's just a single lapped car out there. Shouldn't affect them any way whatsoever. And they've done exactly what they wanted to. They've pulled out 3 seconds over third place Topi Korteniemi back there. So 3 laps to go. It is all up to Partanen and Tolonen. What's the chess game going to provide? And I know that they're planning out their moves, but I guarantee you, Jake, they're also trying to plan out their fast laps as Tolonen just grabs it.
51 flat, traffic gets its warning, stays out of the way then as that moves through. That was Keith Herner staying out of trouble, but to turn 5, this might be the run to the Moraine Suite. Tolonen not as good though as Pauli Partanen. That's where the dirty air came in, 0.3 of a second. It is once again, and I think Jukka's just going to have to stay patient once more. He's not going to find it this time.
And remember, back in qualifying, these drivers were only separated by 3/100ths of a second. They are literally identical in terms of pace. And honestly, if you ask me from what I've seen today, Jake, I actually think that Pauli Partanen has a slight edge because his first lap time, his qualifying lap, was on fire compared to the rest. And unfortunately, his second lap time didn't back it up. But then he went out there, he got the pass done early. He's been in control of the race the whole time. Now, I feel like Tolonen is in the best position to win it with a slipstream pass, but I think Partanen, he's been on fire today.
He has. Pauli Partanen has been fantastic. You could say faultless so far, but there are still 2 and a bit laps to find fault yet, and Jukka Tolonen could be above faultless. He could be perfection if he can find that pass. He's not going to make the move at Canada Corner just yet. He's never got himself alongside, but the 2 and the 3 are looking to try and prove just how good they are and race with absolute respect and clarity with the way that they drive. This is a crucial moment here for Jukka Tolonen, because the moment he decides to go too wide, that will be the move that decides, that makes or breaks the race.
And you got to be careful about going too wide for too long because Cortignani's right there. We have just under 4 minutes of racing left, 2 laps to go. Here to settle it out at Lotus 79 at Road America. It is still Pauli Partanen arcing it into turn number 1. Jukka Tolvanen giving chase in his white and blue number 3 car. The Twins scheme out there. See what kind of exit they get. Delicious drive from Partanen, putting the power down. Jukka Tolvanen firmly in that slipstream, but nowhere close enough to make a move here at 5.
I'll tell you what, it's the closest Tolvanen has been, and it's still not enough. He gets himself into range at 2 1/4. Oh, mistake there from Partanen. He had to take 2 bites of the cherry. This might be it for Tolvanen. No, he stays patient up over the top of the brow, the plateaued left under the Corvette bridge. But now as the move comes along, Partanen's finally feeling the pressure.
You got to be careful in the case of Partanen because if you keep sliding those tires around, you keep missing the apex, you will just overheat them. And at that point, Jukka Tolvanen will just be licking his lips knowing he's going to have the pass done whenever he wants it. But seems like Pauli has calmed himself down just a little bit. Gets a nice run out of the carousel through the kink. Tolvanen is back out to 0.4 of a second behind, but through this slipstream right here, he's definitely going to be closing it up. Let's see how they challenge Canada corner and who can get the run coming out of the exit.
Tolvanen's going to start getting desperate if he's not careful because he'll run out of time to find the pass. Partanen's doing just enough. He has shown weakness. He has shown a mistake, but Tolvanen is having a really good run here through Bill Mitchell Bend. Sets it up for the final corner, trying to take as much of the road as possible, as much of the curb, but Partanen is able to pull that once again to 0.3 of a second, and that is enough. It sounds like nothing as they see Barney the flagman wave that white flag here at Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin, and say it's 1 lap to go. But Jukka Tolvanen closes it right down. Oh, there's almost contact between the pair.
So close between our leaders, just under 4 miles of Wisconsin racetrack remaining out of turn number 3. Let's see how Partanen gets the power down, and this is a really good run from Jukka Tolvanen. He is underneath the rear wing of our leader, Pauli Partanen. Does he make the move down into turn number 5? Slowly inching closer. There he goes. It's a braking duel side by side going into 5. A lockup from Tolvanen on the inside. Partanen is able to defend.
He's able to hold for the moment, but we're heading through towards the hurry down section of the circuit where you can make some unpredictable moves, especially through into turn 9. That might be a place where you want to strike your Jukka Tolvanen, or he might just play the waiting game. He knows how crucial it is to give himself the run, but the long carousel really does not help if you're behind. It's, again, 0.2 of a second, and it's all about staying in this range, Joey, and there's the hit. The second half of the corner, and it's out to 0.3 again.
Yeah, Tolvanen is able to stay in the slipstream, but you're right, the dirty air of the carousel really negatively affecting him. But here we go. He's got another big-time run heading into Canada corner. I think he's too far back to really make a move. Can Pauli Partanen keep it together for just another few corners? It is all Pauli's to lose at this point. Jukka Tolvanen still right underneath the rear wing. 1 turn left remaining. Pauli Partanen takes a wide arcing entry, puts the power down. He sees Barney the flagman with the checkered flag in hand. He is going to claim the win here at Road America. What a race from Pauli Partanen.
You simply cannot understate how incredible those top 2 were in terms of the way that they drove today. With respect, everything was thrown. There were mistakes made, but they were so minute, and everything was thrown to get there. Sam Ryman finds himself in a battle right now, and this is a big one because it's with Miguel Morland, and this will be for some really important points in the F2 Championship. And with Miguel trying to keep himself in that range, you have to look around and say, well, can he just keep this one? Ryman, I think, is going to have to cut his losses here today. He knows that he's not going to get the points on this one driver in front there, but he knows it's a long season, and he's got 2 drop rounds in the back of the pocket as well as he heads through Bill Mitchell Bend here, Joey, and into the final corner.
Yeah, Sam Ryman, always one of the most respectful racers on the track, is going to stay in position behind Miguel Morland. But you're right, both of these drivers in that F2 championship, so good point stays for both of them. Miguel's going to finish 11th, Sam in 12th, and that's going to do it here for the racing action. We're going to take a quick break, but Stick around. We're going to be right back with the official results and post-race interviews right here on GSRC.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Cue the Finnish national anthem. It was an all-Finn top 5. I am not surprised one bit, but it was ultimately the pair, Pauli Partanen and Jukka Tolvanen, that ran away, and Pauli claiming the victory. What a race between those two. Topi Kortiniemi is going to stand on the podium in third place. Kimmo Vilakainen in fourth. Juho Raina with the top 5 finish. Peter Konecny in sixth. Jason Clapper will be your biggest mover here, up 11 positions to finish in the 7th spot. Javier Mascara in 8th. Dylan Freckleton finishes in 9th, and James Barry with a top 10 result.
Over the page then to 11th, 1 minute off of the race lead, but your F2 winner here today, Miguel Morland, will be, actually I think Konecny had a really good result there, but Miguel Morland will definitely take some big points in 11th position. Sam Ryman will finish off in 12th and cut his losses today. Pablo Suarez would drop back with a couple of spins down to 13th, with Barry West 14th. He also found himself off the road. Stay Morris and Ellis Spice also had their fair share of spins. 1 lap down for Keith Herner was not where he wanted, nor 2 was Patrick Samaran, who was 2 laps down. The one retiree from this race in 19th position belonged to Nathan Finnegan.
Well, looks like we've got our winner here in the booth with us. Pauli Partanen claiming another win, back-to-back Monza and now Road America. How are you feeling?
I'm shaking, like for real. That last lap was nerve-breaking stuff. Oh my god.
Sweating a bit over there, huh?
Yeah, very much.
Well,
very much.
I noticed the second to last lap, not the last lap, but the second to last lap, you had an issue there into turn number 5, had a little bit of a wiggle and really allowed Jukka to close up. Was it the tires going away? Was it a mental mistake? What happened?
Yeah, actually this week I did something I don't usually do, but I made very oversteery setup, and it was horrible to drive at the end. Like usually I try to make the setup good for the end of the race and bit lose time at the start, but this time I did it the other way, and I was regretting my decision the whole last 2 laps. The car was super hard to drive, and Jukka was way faster than me, but I was lucky to being able to keep him behind.
Now, I know you guys always play the chess game of trying to trade the fast lap at all. Were you trying to get that at the end, or were you just purely focused on keeping Jukka behind you?
Yeah, I was not focusing this time to the fast lap. I was too scared to my setup, and like if you saw the last lap, I went sideways to T1, and after that, there was no way I could make a fastest lap there.
Well, I thought you were on fire today, Paulie. We're actually going to bring in Jukka as well. Let Jake talk to Jukka and yourself. I know that you guys had a fantastic race. Paulie, congrats on the win one more time.
Thank you.
Jukka, you had him exactly where you wanted him, but you let him off the hook.
Yeah, well, on the first lap, I didn't want to challenge him too much. I kind of decided that if Pauli gets a nice opportunity to overtake, I won't resist too much, so that we could maybe run away once again. And that pretty much happened. I knew that Pauli would be very fast in the beginning of the race, and I was just hoping to stay close and maybe have a chance in the end. I had the chance, but I was not able to really use it. So yeah, it went like this time, but yeah, at least I tried.
You're trading fastest laps. You are trading all the points, so 2 wins apiece, 2 seconds apiece. At this moment in time, you're looking at this season. Is this going to be a case where it's going to be 6 wins for each of you, and it's just a case of who's going to be around and who laps around this circuit the quickest?
Jukka has all the quali wins, so it's looking bad for me.
Well, that pretty much says as much as we need to know. Focus, though, Zandvoort, 1 week from today. I know that the old Zandvoort was always a really strong challenge, but the new Zandvoort, with all the banking that's added in, do you think that adds an extra challenge for the pair of you?
Well, I haven't done any laps on the previous version, so I don't know. Jukka can tell his point of view.
Yeah, I'm actually waiting for the new Zandvoort since I think it could be fun with the new bankings there. So yeah, let's see. I have 0 laps there as well on the new Zandvoort, but I'm waiting for it.
Well, the floor is yours for the pair of you. Anybody you'd like to thank?
I want to thank Jukka. Nice race, nice driving.
Thanks, Pauli. Congrats. Yeah, and thanks to CTC guys as well, and you for the broadcast, and anyone for watching.
Well, the pleasure there is ours. Pauli Partanen and Jukka Tolvanen, they are going to battle for this championship right up until the final race at Motorland Aragon. But at least for 1/3 of the season, Joey, it's been pretty much their show, and they are dead even.
Yeah, it's just impressive what those two can do, and really all of the Finnish drivers, especially here at Wisconsin, they just dominated today, and that's going to do it. Thanks to the team today, Jake, Ryan, and Dougie. Make sure to check out our social media, website, and merchandise store, and don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel as well so you don't miss a moment here on GSRC. The next race for the Lotus 79s is going to be Zandvoort, like Jake was saying, next week, Sunday, October 15th at 12:30 p.m. Eastern. And be sure to check out our other broadcasts listed here as they scroll across the screen. We have up next the Rolling Thunder series from Las Vegas later tonight at 8:15 p.m. Eastern. Until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.